All right, let's do this.
All right, let's go. World of Matchups is back in the house. Today we are breaking down the NFC North. Vegas Dex on one side, my boy Spencer the Wiz, A1 from Day One producer and co founder of World of Matchups, is in the house to do this for you. Spencer, what is going on today?
Nothing, just another NFL like offseason news cycle. After the NFL draft, it really like people are really starting to grasp at straws, especially those like beat writers that you see online. Like this whole Devonte Adam things. I mean, that's kind of one of the bigger storylines of the week. It's a big nothing burger, and
Yeah.
I just can't wait for real football to get started. Even just training camp, I feel like all those dumb little rumors will go away. It's just it's just nothing going on, so people make stuff up. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like that annoying part of the NFL season before training camp starts.
We're almost there, guys. I mean, seriously, I mean, quarterbacks and rookies are showing up. I mean, Chiefs training
Yeah.
camp is in full swing, so we're like literally like a week or two, 10 days away from being right in the thick of it. I mean, football's right around the corner, guys. So let's start with the Vikings and talk about what's happening with them. Kevin O'Connell, Jay Jettis. This is not my favorite team, and this is a team that I think is going to take a huge step back. But you alluded to Receiver on Netflix. Seeing what Jay Jettas went through last year gives you a little more of a glimpse now, along with the same glimpse that you got from Kirk Cousins with quarterback about what the Minnesota Vikings do, how they run their business, what they're doing. Key additions: J.J. McCarthy gets drafted. They moved up one pick to get him. They bring in Aaron Jones. I mean, the days of Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison are gone. They bring in Andrew Van Ginkel, who I liked in Miami, although he got hurt at the end. These are decent additions. Sam Darnold is going to be probably their starting quarterback, which this is Sam Darnold's last stand. This is it.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
people actually believe in Sam Darnold, though. There's a contingency of people who really believe that he can like do something for them.
Yeah,
I don't know if
well,
I'm a part of it, but we'll see.
yeah. Well, let's take a second and realize that I believe that Sam Darnold has gotten a raw deal his entire career, whether it was definitely a raw deal happening in New York. Then I believe he was in Carolina for a minute where he showed out for a couple games and then kind of fell apart. And he went to San Francisco, I believe, and did nothing and never touched the ball. And now he's getting a renaissance shot, kind of a la Josh Dobbs. It's like him and Josh Dobbs switch teams, and all of a sudden, like, the Vikings, like, okay, I guess we're getting J.J. McCarthy, but is he going to start? I mean, the guy just got signed. And there was from what I understand, some dissension around what it took to
Mm.
get him signed. Guaranteed money, et cetera, et cetera. So, while people are excited about Sam Darnold, why are they excited? They're excited because Jay Jettas is a generational talent. That's why. I mean, I knew that Jets was good, and then I watched receiver, and then I did a little digging. And I mean, when you have people like Devonte Adams, speaking of you, who in my estimation, Devonte Adams right now is still a top five wide receiver. I mean, he's an old head, but there's no denying his talent. And when he speaks of a guy like Jets in such a high regard, you have to take note to that. I mean, the guy does everything great, and he balled out last year with Nick Mullins and some other, stable of bums after Kirk Cousins went down. The numbers were still there, guys. Jay Jett has had 1,000 yards in like 9 games. So what makes you think that with time and a decent training camp and some seasoning between him and Sam Darnold that he's not going to do the same thing? I mean, people are off Jets. In fantasy, they're off Jets. They're off Jets for the whole, as a team. I don't understand it. I mean, the guy is far and away the best wide receiver in the National Football League to me, and it's not even close. And so that's the promise you have with the Vikings. Okay, when you think about the issues that I will have with this team is their defense. They lose Davenport, losing Daniil Hunter is huge. It's huge. And so that was their guy. I really wanted Chop Robinson to go there. It didn't happen. I mean, who are their studs on defense? Who's making big plays? Who's
Well, they drafted
stopping?
that kid from Alabama, didn't they? Like they
Yeah,
traded back up to get him, so they did
yeah.
replace the two defensive ends. But are they going to be equally as productive in this year? Probably not even close.
I'm not sold on what they're doing, and it would not surprise me to see Kevin O'Connell get fired. Now,
Hmm.
I like him. He's a young guy. He has the locker room, but do they have enough, man? I mean, just that's the issue. Do they have enough on this team? Do they have enough star power? You know, outside of Jets, Hawkinson took a bad injury, and who knows when we're gonna see him. Who's backing up Kevin? I mean, T.J. Hawkinson. I mean, these are problematic things. Now, I like Jordan Addison. He's young, he's hungry, but he's kind of in the same boat that Jets is in because look who's throwing him the football. It's problematic all over the offensive line. I mean, Darrisaw is okay. Bradbury is stable, but outside of that, I mean, is there anything that really galvanizes you? Are they going to be pushing defensive, players around? I don't think so, man. I don't think so, and I think that they panicked and just grabbed Aaron Jones. Now they got him on the cheap, but I think Aaron Jones' best days are behind me, and he's not a power back really. He has a little power to him, but he's more of a finesse, elusive back who is always hurt. So, I mean, Harrison Smith, I do like, but outside of that, there's just nothing about this team that really fires me up. I mean, am I missing something, Spencer? Top.
No, but I would say like the biggest storyline that we haven't talked about yet for this team is obviously JJ McCarthy. So, I mean, at some point this season, I feel fairly confident that we're going to see JJ McCarthy just because they're probably not going to be winning too many games. They're playing in a very competitive division where everyone else, just even inside their division, is like a playoff contender. The Bears we'll talk about, obviously, but no one can deny that the Bears became a much better football team over the offseason. So everyone around them got significantly better. And I feel like they probably just stagnated. Now, if JJ McCarthy is this amazing quarterback, he's one of the most polarizing players taken in this year's draft. I'd probably go as far to say he's the most polarizing player that everyone talked about. Either he's going to be the perfect system quarterback without flaw, or he's just like not a very talented guy. Like it goes that far. So we'll have to see. I mean, he's probably not going to be ready for the beginning of the season at all, but I do feel like maybe at game 8, they're 3-5, or Sam Darnold gets hurt, obviously. It's just one of those things is going to happen, and we'll have to see if trading up was worth it for them. I don't remember at the time like why they had traded up. I don't know how many teams were really clamoring for him. There was a lot of like mystery surrounding this year's draft. It was kind of hard to
Yeah.
get a read on like what teams were looking for, who was trading up. Like on the offset, it seemed strange. I think it was
They
I don't
moved
remember
up
who.
one pick to get him at 11. I can't remember who it was, and I don't think
Maybe they were just really nervous that the Broncos were going to trade up or something, so they felt like they needed to take it, but they couldn't last another pick. I don't think they
everybody
gave
was
up too
flying.
much, but
No, they didn't give
yeah,
up a much. If I remember correctly, they moved up one. I don't think
yeah.
they gave up a lot. I just think what was happening is panic was setting in because
There was a lot of panic right
every
there.
quarterback in the NF in college football was flying into the NFL within the first
Yeah,
hour. I mean, literally. I mean, look what happened to the Raiders. You
yeah.
see
It
what I mean? Look
it
what
based
happened to the Raiders.
Broncos into taking Bo Nix in the first round. So I
Yeah,
mean,
which I think is crazy. And I like
insane.
Bo Nix, but is he a first round talent? No, but they're gonna throw him out there like they threw Peyton Manning out there. It's got who knows, but I don't particularly like JJ McCarthy. I told you this, man.
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy to me is a high level game manager that has been hidden by great run games and good defenses. I don't know if he's gonna do well in
Yeah, the
Minnesota.
Vikings just don't have a great defense, and I think that's going to work against them.
They don't have
But
a great run
I
game
don't think
either.
they have high expectations. They got Aaron Jones, and he
He's a
had a lot of
stopgap.
he's a lot of juice, but man, he just like he can't stay healthy for a full season. Like it's been like
Right.
that for a while now, and they're really depending on that.
I like Ty
So
Chandler more. Ty
yeah,
Chandler was balling when he saw some run last year. Specifically, one game I remember on the road versus the Bengals, he went off. He has had some good games, and so I mean they're gonna probably split the backfield. At the end of the day, the problem with this team is not their offense. I mean, this should still be able to score some points, especially when T.J. Hawkinson gets back. The problem with this team, honestly, is that they just don't have enough. They don't have enough on defense. at all. I mean, Dallas Turner. I mean, I guess you traded up to get Dallas Turner too, but like he didn't do anything for me at all. I mean, let's roll this and see if we can come up with, I don't know, 6 wins here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. While you do that, I'm gonna go check the win total here in Vegas.
So they start off in the Meadowlands and they take on the Giants. I don't know.
Ugh, that's a barn burner right there.
Are the
They'll play that
Giants
game at 6 o'clock in the morning, so no one has to watch.
are the Giants really that bad?
It's the battle of mid to start the season.
I think that I just think because that's a tough one. I mean, Sam Darnold will start that game going back home to where he started. He'll be galvanized. The Giants have nobody that can check Jay Jettas. That's a coin flip game. I'm gonna give them that game. I'll give them the first win. I mean, the Giants are gonna be perennially bad. They'll be bad this
Oh,
year. And then they have San Francisco at Houston. Both games are at home.
no shot.
I think they're going to draw both those games, no
Yeah,
problem.
no shot.
And then I think they're going to turn around and they're going to go to the Green Bay Packers, and I think they're going to get their doors blown off there too. And I think then they'll come back home versus the Jets, who I'm telling you right now, folks, the Jets are going to be better. At worst, and I've said this, and I feel this in my soul, and I'm going to keep saying this for the purposes of gambling and making money, which is what World of Matchups does. I mean, we're about handicapping first. Don't let this summer breakdowns of these divisions fool you. We're about, plus minus and all that. The Jets are going to be in all these games, especially if they're getting points. Now, I don't know if they'll be favored in this game, but I just can't see them beating the Jets in that Jet defense. That is the Sam Darnold revenge game versus that defense. They're going to eat him alive, and then they go to the bye. They're going to be 1-4 off the bye. This is when you're going to start hearing the rumblings about J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, for sure. I know they're gonna play against Detroit. Oh man,
And then
it's.
they come off the bye and they're going to play at home versus Detroit, who I'm telling you, Detroit's, I think, at worst, going to the NFC Championship game
I think
at
this is
the
when JJ
Rams.
McCarthy, right here. This
This is
this Rams game.
this is where Kevin O'Connell throws J.J. McCarthy to the wolves and benches Sam
Yeah, because
Darnold.
it's an away game. You give them a week to get ready for a home game against the Colts, which in their mind is like a very winnable game. I
They,
feel like
sh-
this is when you're gonna see it.
they should win that game. They should win this game at home versus the Colts, but that's not a gimme either. I mean, it's really not, man.
Yeah,
And then the most brutal part of any NFL schedule to date now happens, where there are 3 straight road games versus, I think, better than decent teams in Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Chicago. They're going to go 1-2. I don't know which one of those teams they're going to
yeah,
beat.
they're gonna have to steal one,
They're going to have to steal one of those games. And then
whatever
they
that
turn
counts.
around and then they get 3 straight home games:
Weird.
Arizona, Atlanta, and Chicago. Let me tell you, man, the schedule makers did this team no favors. And I'm here
Yeah,
to tell you, I believe that at this point of the game, the season is mailed in. So we're just seeing what we have, and I think Kevin O'Connell will pull enough rabbits out of his hat to steal 2 out of these 3 games there. Then they're at Seattle. They're going to lose that game. They're home versus the Packers. They're going to lose that game. And then they're on the road to finish the season at Detroit. They're going to lose that game. I'm guessing right now that you're going to tell me that their over under is 5.5.
I'm gonna surprise you here, big time. It's seven wins.
My
I
friends,
love the under.
I want you to listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth right now. If you're at home, this is where you turn the volume up. Record this if you have to, so you can come back to it later. Take out a second mortgage. You take your wife's wedding ring, pawn it, cash out your Coinbase, your IRAs, your Roth IRAs, and you go straight to the sports book immediately and you bet that under. There is no way in hell with Sam Darnold, a journeyman, and a rookie quarterback that has had to rely on run games and being hidden and a very patchwork defense at best, that this team in this division versus this out of division teams is winning 7 games. This is probably my best bet so far of all these breakdowns that we've done, Spencer. I don't see
Yeah, I
seven
would say
games.
so. I would
I
say
don't
at the
see.
end of the series that we should do probably like a 3-team ticket for over under seasons and
This is
parlay
number
them
one. This is
together.
number one.
Yeah, this is my favorite so far. Like,
I
there's
mean,
something feels
we
way off. I can't find 7 wins in
I
this
mean,
schedule.
before these guys here in Vegas realize what they've done, I'd go do this now. I may go to South Point today and just, dude, I'm telling you, there's not 7 wins on the schedule. And God forbid, and guys, God forbid, and I never wish injury on anyone, but God forbid anything happen to Jets. Anything happens to Jets,
They got
and
nothing.
they got nothing, man. I mean, they are really banking on him having a 2,000-yard season. For this team to have 7 wins, do you know what has to happen? Everyone has to play over their heads. I just don't see it. Jacksonville's better. Tennessee is better. Chicago is better. San Francisco, Houston, Green Bay, the Jets. That 4-game stretch, that's murderer's row. They're going to be going into their bye week. They could be 0-5. They could be having Kevin O'Connell replaced. I'm standing on this 10 toes down. Go under for the Vikes, guys. Next.
All right, let's take a look at the rest of these teams. Are super interesting. I mean, I feel like we should go maybe to the most exciting one in
The
the sense that,
Chicago Bears.
yeah, I mean,
The
they could
Bears.
they completely change their team.
The
They get rid of
Bears.
Justin Fields. And I was thinking about this last night, and I don't know if I'm putting my tin hat on, but I just feel like there's more to the story of Justin Fields than we're letting on. Maybe not like terrible, like, oh, he's like a horrible person behind the scenes. Nothing like that extreme, but I feel like this guy just lost the passion for playing the game of football because we've seen some legitimately impressive things from Justin Fields on the football field. No doubt about it. And you saw how hungry the league was for quarterbacks this offseason. Teams desperate for him. I mean, trading up and every which way. And this guy could not be traded for barely a 6th-round pick. I mean, that was shocking, and it still is,
It
and it,
destroyed his confidence.
yeah, and I feel like there was an interview too in the offseason where he was essentially saying that, just something about like football just wasn't, I don't know, like he just didn't see the game the same way.
Mhm.
Something along the lines of, related to his passion for the game. And I feel like, wow, like looking back at his time at Ohio State, like I just feel like I saw a quarterback that loved the game of football. And I don't even know if he's ever going to get a chance to do that again. The
I don't know.
confidence of a quarterback is so underrated. I mean,
Hmm.
you can go back to look at so many different quarterback prospects whose careers where you're just like I always think about Josh Rosen. For some reason, he was just like a prospect that everyone was surefire. This guy is going to be like a top 10 quarterback his whole career.
Just didn't
And the
get a
Cardinals
shot.
just derailed his career.
He
And I
just
feel like I'm
destroyed his confidence.
feel like I'm seeing it in Justin Fields now. Like I don't feel like I see that spark out of him anymore. That the desire to be like, I'm going to fight tooth and nail to
Yeah.
be the Steelers starting quarterback. So, and again, part of it also, like without putting on my tin hat, is that they were in a very unique position where you have the first overall pick and a quarterback comes out that many deem to be a once in a generation, which is yet to be seen, obviously. We'll have to see. But not, I mean, one every 20 years as a team put in this position, right? No, most of the time when you're the worst team in the league, you know for sure that you need a quarterback. That's usually what it comes down to.
Hmm.
But in this case, they had a quarterback on the team and they're like, we're just going to move on and take a chance. I ultimately think the chance was the right thing to take. Like you just don't want to pass up because I never fault a team for going for it or doing essentially the right thing. Let's say Caleb Williams is a bust, right? I still feel like they made the right decision. You just can't pass up these kinds of opportunities. A lot of the draft is gambling, and you've got to gamble like when you feel like your chances are good. So
Yeah.
they bring in Caleb Williams. They give him all the help a rookie quarterback could ever need, ever. They bring in Keenan Allen for cheap. It was like a 5th-round pick or something, 4th-round pick. They draft Roman Dunze, which was a little surprising to me, to be honest with you. But thinking back to Cole Kmet, who I love, he had a great season last year. You have Roma Dunze, you got Keenan Allen. They bring in DeAndre Swift. I mean, they went all out. Defensively, I'm not sure what this team is going to look like. They didn't really lose a lot of guys. They just kept bringing people in. And I guess I don't really have a strong stance on the Chicago Bears defense going into the season. It's just kind of middle of the road, I guess, would probably be the best way to describe it. They have a new offensive coordinator. There's going to be a lot of changes. I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains. I think people think this is just going to be a road to victory. Everything's perfect. They're going to make a Netflix documentary. But I have seen some signs of weird things, especially out of
Hmm.
Caleb Williams' camp, that
Hmm.
I just don't like. You know, thinking back to like Jaden McDaniels or Jaden, with Washington now, you just
Jaden
quiet,
Daniels.
man. I
Hmm.
haven't heard anything.
Yeah,
Just he's getting ready to
that's
be the franchise quarterback for the Washington. I almost said Redskins, Commanders. I can never get used to that. I feel. But you see this thing coming out of Caleb Williams. I see all the social media clips
there's
with him in
always
there.
something. There's
He's got the
always something.
trying to get his contract as an LLC. These are just. I know there is a business side to it, and I doubt that he's like dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. Like, what about the business side? It just feels like he's not like you're getting ready to be the franchise quarterback for a franchise that has essentially, and I'm pretty confident to say this, never had a franchise quarterback. They just had guys there.
They've never
They've
had a
won
4,000 yard passer.
yeah, and I don't feel like the weight of that has hit him yet. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, this is not USC.
It's
Like,
it's gonna in November when it's snowing in Soldier
yeah.
Field. It's gonna. I'm telling you right now, I like the over of this team. This team reminds me of the Kansas City Chiefs the first year Andy Reid was there.
Hmm.
It's a new day. And all of a sudden they won 9 games in a row and everybody was like, what the hell is going on? That's what this reminds me of. Now, I agree with everything you said. At the end of the day, after flip flopping for a while, you have to go out and you have to draft Caleb Williams. If people are making any kind of comparisons to the current GOAT as a potential player to be on your team, you have to go out and draft him and hope for the best. And that's what they've done. They have given him every opportunity to succeed. They've surrounded him with weapons. They have given him all the help that I wish they would have given Justin Fields, and they're going to hope it works out. I do not like Matt Eberflus at all. I feel like that was one of the worst possible hires that they could have made. He's a defensive minded coach surrounded by stud players that he just really didn't put in positions to win games. But when you think about this team winning 7 games last year, with everything that went on, with Tyson Bagent starting games and actually playing well, there's a lot of hope and promise. Now, I think this really started when they went and got Sweat. Once they got Sweat and signed Sweat, the ball was rolling. And they signed Jalen Johnson. You bring in the FAs. It's all worked out. Now they have Caleb. But the problem with this is that the ingredients are there, but you haven't cooked anything yet. You can't just assume that the meal is going to taste good because you have the ingredients. You got to know what to put. You got to know how to season. You got to know what, you know what I mean? What temperature to cook it at. All that stuff matters, man. Right now, you just have groceries. You just have groceries. So I don't think this is a playoff team. I think that this is not going to be as easy as some people are making it out to be for Caleb Williams. I think his welcome to the NFL could be rough. I'm looking forward to watching him in the preseason if they even give him snaps. I feel like the more snaps this kid can take, the better off it will be, but I don't think it's just going to be a shoo in. Now, their schedule is soft. You know what I mean? We'll go over it in a second. This schedule is soft. I went through their schedule earlier this year when the schedule dropped, and I see 9 wins. I think there's going to be some games where they surprise some people. I mean, let's not forget what DJ Moore is. And let's not forget what DJ Moore did last year with no Roma Dunze or Keenan Allen. Now you add those guys, they're going to be rolling coverage all over the place. There's always going to be someone open. The question is, can Caleb get these guys the ball? And can he scramble without dying on the field? He's going to
Hmm.
have to learn how to slide. Guys, this ain't USC, man. This ain't USC, and one of my biggest knocks against Caleb Williams is against better competition. He was Casper the Ghost. He was. No one could talk me off this. He beat up on scrubs, but there's not scrubs here in the NFL. So I do like what they've done. I do like their line is getting a little bit better. Darnell Wright was the de facto right pick when they took him. I do like their defense. I like Jalen Johnson a lot, man. TJ Edwards is very, very good. Doesn't get all Tremaine Edmonds. These are not stars, but they're very solid, good players. Kevin Byard, good player. I mean, they can make some noise. I think that they're going to be better than people think. I think the days of the the old Bears are gone, and it's a new day. It's just a matter of if it gels or not. Let's go through the schedule. Opening day is this is a game that you really
Yeah,
like.
this was in my top 10 games of the year. This is going to be awesome. I'm so tuned into this game, and I love that it's an afternoon game and I can really sit in and just watch it. These two teams are on a way like they I don't know. Tennessee didn't necessarily go all in, but they were very aggressive. I don't, maybe you could say they went all in. I guess
They
I could go
did.
as far as saying that. Well, these are two teams that are trying to rocket themselves way above any projections that you do in any normal offseason. Most teams do not do this. It's tweaking some things here and there. You get one big free agent, you resign a guy. Both of these teams made drastic changes to their team in the hopes that these changes that we made, we believe is going to take us to the playoffs. Both of
Yeah.
those teams are going to be meeting in week 1.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm telling you right now, this game reminds me of opening day for the Bears a couple of years ago when the Niners went in there in the rain and everybody was like the Niners are going to roll the Bears.
Mm,
And the Bears won that game convincingly going away. I see the same thing happening here. I'm going to give them this win. I think that that stadium that day, opening day, is going to have an aura about it
yeah.
for the Bears that they have not had in decades. And I think that's going to fire them up. I think they'll do enough to win the game, but I don't think it will be easy. Tennessee Titans are a very good team, guys. They're going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think they're going to go to Houston and lose. And I think they're going to go to Indianapolis and they're going to lose that game too. I think that both of those teams are much, much better. Anthony Richardson will be healthy. Indianapolis has got good defense. And
Yeah.
again, I think that Caleb Williams' introduction into the league is not going to be as seamless as people think. I think they will come home and find a way to win 2 out of the 3 next games. They got 3 straight home games. They got the Rams, they got Carolina, and they got Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's tough. It feels like
They're losing
it
to
feels like
they're,
where their over under for the season total is going to come in is
is
this
right
3 game
here.
stretch right here.
Is
Yeah.
right here. Now we know they're going to beat Carolina. That shouldn't be a problem with the firepower that they have. I am not sure that they can beat the Rams because the Rams can score and the Rams have retooled their defense. And Sean McVay is a much better coach than Matt Eberflus. This is a Super Bowl winning head coach. They travel well. I'm going to go ahead and chalk that
Oh,
off as a
that's tough.
loss.
That Jaguars game is in London. That's
Gotcha.
tough for them because the Jaguars are the Jaguars. I'm telling you are like I feel like they're going towards being a halftime like in the season is in London for them. Like
Yeah.
they are the resident team in London at this point now.
Yeah, they could be, and
That's tough.
that's a tough game. I'm not saying that that's an easy win at all, but I think they find a way to get that, and then they go into their bye, and then they look at what they've done so far, and they look at what they've done with Caleb, and their bye week's not going to be a rest week. It'll be a rest week for everyone else. It's not going to be a rest week for Caleb Williams. So they're going to be looking at a lot of film and figuring out how they can come out to the bye and go to the Commanders and win that game. And I think they can. I'm not so sure they can beat the Cardinals at home, but I'm going to give them that win too. You know
It's tough.
they
It's a tough
they
game.
that's the they are who we thought they are rematch from 20 years ago, and I think that they'll find a way to win that game. And then they come home for 3 straight. They got 2 blocks in their schedule where they played 3 straight games at home. These schedule makers were weird, really weird
Weird.
this year, man. They'll beat the Patriots. I'm telling you, they're gonna beat the Packers. They've had enough.
At
They,
home,
yeah,
yeah,
and they're gonna beat Minnesota. This is where they're gonna get hot. They're going to give their fans what they came to get
yeah.
this year.
I
This is
like that Packers prediction because
I do too.
there is a storyline going on. I think it's the longest streak. The Packers Bears
They have to
because
win
the
that game.
Raiders are like number 2 against the Broncos, and I do think number 1 is the Packers
Yeah,
Bears.
they have to win
No,
that game. So I think they will. Then they're gonna come off the 3 game win streak and lose 2 straight at Detroit and the San Francisco 49ers. They'll go into Minnesota and take care of business there. They will beat Detroit this year in their building. They're gonna split with Detroit. And I think they will beat Seattle in their building again. I think the telltale sign for whether or not they hit this OU is this last game of the year, where they have to go to Green Bay, who they cannot stand, and now they have seen a full season with
I
their
don't like it, man.
with Caleb Williams, and I think they lose that game. I
Yeah.
do. I don't see
I
them.
think that cold weather game is going to kill
I do
Caleb.
not see them splitting with the Packers under any circumstances. I mean, sweeping the Packers under any circumstances. I think they can win that home game and split. What's their over under?
It is 9 wins right on the dot. I'm going to stay away. It's hard to predict.
That's
I
one
tend
I
to
would
lean
stay
under
away from.
personally, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a tough one.
I think they're going to win exactly 9 games, and the push will take your money. So I would probably stay away from it too. I see 9 wins. I don't see 10 wins. I don't. I see 9 wins, and in order to get those 9 wins, they're going to have to be two very good teams. Two teams that literally are better than them. They're going to have to win those games. But that's the Bears. Let's break down what's next.
Yeah, let's go to the Packers next. A very interesting offseason, very safe, I guess, in a way. So they get rid of Aaron Jones, they bring in Josh Jacobs. So I think that's a plus. Aaron Jones is definitely, I mean, although Aaron Jones has his times where he's like, he looks like that running back that we've always known, just not
He's
consistent enough.
he's
Josh
done.
Jacobs is a lot more consistent. Even though Josh Jacobs has had a lot of like lingering injuries, he's just played through them because he wanted to get a contract last year.
Hmm.
So now that you have the contract, I feel like these guys tend to like want to stay out a few games here and there. I don't know. I'm not trying to question his toughness because he did play through injuries, but it's different when you have money in your pocket and
Hmm.
security. You know what I mean? Xavier McKinney, Edgerrin Cooper. These are all like really good signings for them. They're going to go back to the playoffs. I mean, barring something crazy happening. Not a lot of key losses. I know David Bakhtiari, but he's been in and out for a long time now. I mean, he's more of a name at this point. I'm not trying to like diminish his career. He's obviously really good, but it was time I think to move on. Just all the surgeries he had. I know that he's like been through a lot. So this is a team that was not far off from beating the 49ers like at all in the playoffs.
They
And
should
I'm
have won the
seeing a
game.
much improved team.
Hmm.
So with that in mind, I mean, it's almost like quite simple. They had these wide receivers who really kind of came onto the scene. They were all like really, really good. Not household names, but I think they're going to become one this year. Another season with them. You got Jordan Love, who was very impressive, made a pretty bad mistake there in that 49ers game, but he's another year older. The only way to learn from those kinds of mistakes is being there, and he got them there
Hmm.
last year. So I think if
Yeah.
they were to do this again, I think it would be really good for him.
Yeah.
So I'm trending upwards on the Packers here. This is a very competitive division.
Very, and that's what I was thinking as you were giving us your breakdown. The problem I have with the Packers is the division that they play in. It's just like the AFC North.
Yeah.
Minus Minnesota, and even on a good day, Minnesota will split with you. They're gonna have a rough go of it here. I mean, all these teams are coming for blood. When you play them twice a year, you're gonna get beat up, and I'm not so sure that Jordan Love can replicate what he did last year. I mean, there was a stretch last year where he looked like Joe Montana. I mean,
Yeah.
he was sizzling, sizzling. I like Matt LaFleur, young coach. I like him. I like what they're doing in Green Bay. I like their fans. I've been up there. I've seen games in Green Bay 2 times. And I just like what they're doing. I just worry that they don't have any real stars. I mean, Jordan Love's their star. Who are their stars? Is Josh Jacobs a star at this point? I worry about Josh Jacobs. I mean, their run scheme, their zone. I mean, Josh Jacobs excels in what? Zone runs? That's not what they do, is it? I don't know. Christian Watson's hamstrings are always being held together with glue. I like Romeo Doubs. He scores touchdowns, but he's not a star. Jaden Reed is a potential star. Musgrave was hurt. I mean, they got this Dontavian Wicks kid that everybody keeps raving about. There's nothing about the Packers that blow me away. I mean, on defense, who are their stars? You know what I mean? Like, I like Jair Alexander, but he could be past his prime, maybe. I'm not too sure. I mean, he did lock down Jets a couple years ago, but I don't know. There's something about this team that has me feeling like they're going to take a step back. I just don't know what it is because they have all the talent in the world, especially on offense. You know what I mean? Now you get Josh Jacobs in there. Marshawn Lloyd should be very good, and they drafted him and gonna get him going. I mean, you don't really know what Musgrave and Kraft are gonna do. The guys are always hurt. I mean, their line is. I mean, I'm just not blown away by anything I see. Rashawn Gary's good. Quay Walker's they're good. They're good players. But who are their stars? When you absolutely need it, like who are their guys? I mean, with the team that almost beat the Niners in the playoffs last year, to me, it's almost mind blowing that they did that because that's a team that was on the road versus a team at home with nothing but stars. Nothing but stars. So, like, my rhetoric right now should absolutely be they're going to be better. Something tells me they're not. I don't know what it is. Let's go through their schedule. They're going to go to Philadelphia week one. I think that game's in Brazil or something. They're going to lose
So
that game.
weird. Yeah.
That's a Friday night lights game. They're going to lose that
I think
game.
it's
I'm
going to be a
telling you.
different Philly team this year. I'm pretty high on Philly.
Philadelphia with a new OC. I'm telling you, the Eagles may go back to the Super Bowl. The Eagles are going to be very, very good this year. They'll open up at home versus the Colts. I think they'll win that game. At Tennessee, I can see them losing that game. I'm telling you, Will Levis and the Titans are going to be very, very good this year. They should beat up on Minnesota, no problem. At the Rams, I'm going to give them a loss. Back to back games at home versus Arizona and Houston. That's going to determine their OU right there. Right there, that Houston game. I'll give them the Arizona game. I'm not willing to give them the Houston game. I think Houston is a much better team than they are. At Jacksonville, that's a make or break game for them as well. Like
It's tough.
literally, you know if they're going to beat their OU right here in the first 6 or 7 games. I'm going to give Jacksonville that win. I can't do it. I think Jacksonville will be much better. Then they're home versus Detroit. No love lost there, man. And I like Detroit in these games. I think Detroit could sweep the Packers this year. I really do. Detroit, to me, is that good. I think they're going to get it together. They've gotten all the pieces they need for a Super Bowl run. I like Dan Campbell. If you just stop being stupid, that team could win a Super Bowl. They'll come off their bye week. They'll go to Chicago. I think that they're going to split with Chicago. So, but I don't think they're going to win that one. I think they'll win the last game of the year. That home game for the Bears is going to be ripe. They're losing that game. Home versus San Francisco. I'm going to give them that win. That's going to be a Super Bowl type game for them. Same thing with Miami. They're going to
It's a
get
tough
a
schedule, man.
tough schedule, man. This is what I'm talking about. A tough schedule. They don't play easy teams at all. They're gonna split those. I don't know how that's gonna go. I think they'll probably beat Miami, lose to the Niners, then they'll go to Detroit and lose, go to Seattle and lose, home for the Saints. That's a dub. Don't be surprised if they go to Minnesota and lose that game. Don't be surprised. I know Minnesota's in shambles. Don't be surprised. They still boot. They still got Jay Jettas. They still got Jay Jettas, dude. You know what I mean? And they finish at home, and they'll split with the Bears and beat the Bears. What's their OU?
It's 9.5.
I'm going under. That half
Looking at
game,
their schedule, I can
that
see
half
under.
game, that half game is gonna win you money, guys. Remember what I said earlier about the Vikings? I want you to do the same thing here. Cash out everything. Cash it all
Oh,
out,
I'm
guys.
not that confident on it.
I'm confident, dude.
The Vikings way more than the Packers. I could see the
Yeah,
Packers winning 10
for
games.
sure. You could see the Packers winning 10 games on the
I
schedule.
could. I could.
Wow, I
I could
can't.
see them winning those games against, the Seattle Seahawks. I could see them winning a game against the Dolphins. I mean, it's like I said, this is
It's
not
a
one I put
tough
my own money on.
schedule.
Just like those Rams games, those Texans games, the Jaguars. You just don't know what you're going to get out of the Packers this year from them.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Packers, they just don't have enough star power for me to believe in them like this. They're a good team with a lot of very good players, but they also have a lot of just no name. I mean, they got bums on it. I mean, this is a team that's still carrying AJ Dillon on their roster. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're not as good as you think they are. I mean, last year they played over their heads when they beat Dallas, and they played over their heads when they beat San Francisco. And I'm telling you, I've seen the sophomore slump in the NFL happen before. I don't know. I got to see it from Jordan Love again to be a believer. I'm not saying they're dog shit because they're not. They're a very good team, but there's not enough star power on this, or the guys who are very good players are going to need to ascend this year into being stars. Jaden Reed, everyone keeps talking about this guy's the next. He has to do it this year. You know what I mean? Dubs is just a
Yeah.
touchdown guy inside the 20. Wicks, everyone keeps talking about this guy as being the next great sleeper wide receiver. Christian Watson has to have a healthy season. If all these things happen, If Josh Jacobs does, insert himself and fit well and not just a contract guy, like, okay, fine. But those are a lot of ifs. That's if after if after if after if after if. Those are a lot of ifs. And their defense, it doesn't scare me at all, man. Van Ness, I mean, what has he done since he's been in the league? You see what I mean? They're just guys to me that win in their building, and then they got hot in the playoffs. Prove me wrong, Green Bay. Prove me wrong. Next,
Last team, the Detroit Lions. I mean,
my
yeah, this
favorite.
is they had a great draft. Brought in Marcus Davenport, DJ Reader. They bring in other great veteran presence. I love Terry and Arnold. I thought the
Love,
Raiders could have drafted him at 13 and never blinked
love,
an
and
eye.
not even batting an eye. Yep.
Yeah. So didn't really lose much. Cameron Sutton, I knew they had brought that guy in from the Eagles, who now is back with them, another corner, but those are just names. And that guy was hurt for most of the season. So I think that the guy who they brought, like, I think Terry and Arnold's better than both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a very positive move. I think they just had another great, solid offseason. Another season where, you're going to have to see about Jamison Williams. I know everyone's super high on their running back too. I have to see it with my own eyes. I've seen these guys get typed up and talked about all the time, but I need to see the production on the field. I mean, the way that people talk about them, you think they're like Hall of Famers, but they just haven't produced yet.
Yeah.
Uh, that's not to say that this isn't an incredible football team. We're talking about the difference between winning and losing a Super Bowl. Like that's how good they are. So
They're good,
when I'm
man.
when I'm nitpicking, I'm talking about a team who I believe could win. So if they are going to win, they're going to need Jamison Williams to not just be the guy that everyone hypes up on Twitter. They're going
Yeah.
to need him to be a star wide receiver because
Mm-hmm.
that is the reason why they lost last year. That drop pass from like Josh Reynolds, who they dropped, that's season defining. I mean, these small moments, very rarely do you get to just cakewalk to a Super Bowl where you're just the best team in the league. There's going to be these moments where you need your best players to make these big moves, and that is the number one problem for the team. Amon Ross St. Brown is incredible. You can't really poke holes in this team. I mean, this is a team that is going to win or lose based off of a few plays, and do can they get enough out of Jared Goff to put him over the edge? I mean, this has been the problem for Jared Goff his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who's on these incredible teams. He's a very above average game manager. He'll take you there, but can he finish the job? He hasn't been able to do that so far. And that's why he ended up on Detroit in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree and disagree somewhat. We'll start with Goff. I think Goff is very good. You don't go to a Super Bowl by accident. I think that Detroit and LA, they both won that trade. One of the few times where both sides get what they want. I think Goff is perfect for Detroit. I really, really do. I think this team is going to only go as far as not their players. I think they're going to only go as far as Dan Campbell lets them go. I'm sorry, and I like the moxie. I like the bravado that you play with. I like the 4th and 5. Doesn't matter. We're going for it, but you have to pick and choose the spots that you do that. Just doing it every single time, you're going to fail more than you're going to win with that mentality. Look at the Cowboy game last year. They gave the game away. Kick the field goal and go to overtime. You were outplaying them. You were in the game, but no, 4th and whatever it was, we'll go for it to try to win the game. And don't get me wrong, your players want to rally behind you, and if that's your mentality, fine. But it's going to cost you a Super Bowl. It cost them a Super Bowl this year. You know what I mean? It cost them a Super Bowl this year. So that to me is they're going to be their number one issue. Their number two issue to me is that they don't have anybody outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown on the wide receiver that you can count on. When you absolutely have to have it, and if he's not there, or if he gets hurt, or he has to sit out a play, you absolutely need a first. Who's giving it to you? It's Sam Laporta. It's not Jameson Williams. Jameson is just JMO is nothing but a field stretcher at this point. He's a big play guy. He's an end around guy. He is not a consistent wide receiver like he was in college. I do not trust Donovan Peoples Jones anywhere. He just does not do it for me. Khalif Raymond is just the name of a guy that is playing in the NFL. They don't have that guy. They don't have that guy. That to me is a problem. Now they are solid everywhere else. Mandatory Montgomery is as good as advertised. Jameer Gibbs to me is the best running back in the NFL. He just doesn't get to play. He doesn't get. If you gave him Ladainian Tomlinson touches, you would see that kind of production. To me, he's the best. You don't see it because they don't use him like that. The one game or two games, I think it was a Monday night game where Montgomery was hurt and Jameer Gibbs got the full complement of touches. He went off, man. He was jumping in the stands, scored like two touchdowns, another six catches, over 120 yards. I mean, that's who he is. That's who he is. And he's young and he's shifty, he's hungry, but they don't give him the ball like that for whatever reason because I guess they don't need to when you have Montgomery. So the offense, I don't think is a problem outside of the wide receiver too. And if JMO can step up and stop being a Twitter sensation, now they're cooking with something because Amon-Ra St. Brown is fantastic, but he cannot carry the mail by himself. And I don't think Sam Laporta can repeat what he did last year. I don't
That's
think he
tough.
can. You're asking a guy to come back and do it again. That I mean, you never see that from a tight end in history.
And you're
I
also
can't.
having teams be very aware when someone breaks out mid-season. It's very hard because these guys are scouting week to week. I mean, it's just like
But
it's
they got
craziness.
tape on you. I
Yeah,
mean, I can't remember the last tight end to come in as a rookie and really go ham. I mean, as a rookie, you know what I mean? Like
hard. It's very rare.
Jeremy Shockey, you know what I mean? Like it takes a while, man, and he busted onto the scene. Laporte is more of a wide receiver and a tight end's body anyway. We all know this, and so I don't know if he can repeat that. I love their defense. I love what they've done. Hey, Hutchinson's as good as anyone. I like Reader. I mean, I like Anzalone. He's just a lunch pail, typical Detroit Lion player. You know, Brian Branch, Terry and Arnold. I mean, they are locked and loaded. Robinson. You know, they have good, strong players. They have good, strong coaching. They have a great fan base that is starved and knowing that they blew it last year and ready to run this back. And there's a level of hunger in the Detroit Lions community that you cannot find anywhere else in the National Football League because they know they let one slip away. And so they have gone all in. They've paid everyone. They've paid everybody. They are ready. Everyone's hyped about receiver. If you haven't watched receiver, watch receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute sensation. He's my favorite wide receiver in the entire National Football League. When you have 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns and you don't make the Pro Bowl, it's absolutely shameful. The league should fold. It's just that's when you know you have to break up how the voting is done because it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. And I get this excited about the Lions because I saw the potential in this Lions team back when I met you. I was on the Lions 4 years ago, guys, telling everyone, I'm like, telling you, give it some time. I remember the ascension of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm like, I'm telling you, this kid's going to be a star. And to watch it all now come to fruition, it has me hyped. Outside of my own team, this is the team that I watch every week with a level of enthusiasm. And quite frankly, I wouldn't mind seeing them go and win a Super Bowl. I wouldn't because they did it the right way. They got the coaches in place. They drafted well. They paid the guys they needed to pay. They did the trades they needed to do. They did everything the right way. You know what I mean? They made the playoffs. Then they just they go about their business the right way, and you love to see it. Let's look at this schedule. Opening day, the Rams return to the scene of the robbery where Puka Nakua was absolutely manhandled. They didn't call it. I'm going to give the Lions that win, but that's not going to be an easy game to win. Same thing. They're playing
Another
basically their playoff
yeah,
schedule.
and yeah,
They're
it's weird.
playing their playoff schedule to open the season. I think they're going to beat Tampa Bay too. I mean, these first two teams are talented. I think the difference will be that this is a Super Bowl team, a Super
Yeah, I
Bowl
think that's
winning
just how
team.
good I think it speaks more to how good the Detroit Lions are.
I mean,
Really,
good teams win, great teams cover. The Lions win, and the Lions cover. That's what I think you're going to see out of the Lions this year. You can bet your money, and you can bet it feeling really good about doing it. I think they will also beat the Cardinals. It's going to get tricky here because I don't think Seattle is a pushover. You know what I mean? At all. I don't think Seattle's a pushover. So that's going to be a tricky game for them. Seattle beat them last year in a game that I remember picking as one of my best bets. And
Yeah,
so I'm going to give them an L there. They'll go into their bye week, early bye week,
it
early
sucks.
bye week for
That
them.
sucks.
A team like this could really benefit from a late bye week. So they get an early bye week. They'll be 3-1. I do think they'll beat the Cowboys. I do think they'll beat the Vikings. The Titans are a toss up for me. I
They're
do
at
think,
home. I'll give that to the Lions.
yeah, I could
Considering
see
that
that.
Detroit's just going to be so good at home this year. So good.
They may go undefeated at home. They're going to lose to the Packers in that game, but it will not be easy. I think they will surprise everybody and beat the Texans. I think that we need to pump the brakes. As good as I think the Texans will be, they're not going to be unbeatable. They're not going to be unbeatable. They're gonna lose some games. I mean, all teams are going to lose. I mean, the Chiefs are going to lose some games. No one is going undefeated in the parity with the NFL, with the new rules, the tackles, the kickoffs. It's not happening. Like a Super Bowl winning team is going to lose 5 6 games. Period. That's just how it goes. I think they'll beat the Jags, no problem. Even though the Jags should be better, I could see them losing this game to the Colts on some BS. Then they got 3 straight home games, and I think they're going to win them all.
Yeah, I think so too. I think
They're
they're going
going
to
to win
sweep the
them all.
Bears. I just
They're
think
going to
that,
beat. I think they're going to sweep the Bears too. I think the
yeah,
Bears are looking at the Packers when they need to be looking at the Lions.
yeah,
I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to win all those games. I think they're going to go and sweep the Bears again 4 weeks later. I think they are going to lose to the Niners, and their last game of the year is at home versus the Vikings, which is a cookie. At this point, the Vikings should have mailed it in.
yeah,
J.J. McCarthy will have at least started 5 or 6 games. They will be out of playoff contention. Jay Jettas will pretty much only be going for some kind of record, and it probably, if Kevin O'Connell's not already fired, will be his exits from the franchise. And so their over under to me is probably going to be 10.5, maybe
yep.
even
You're right on the
11.
dot.
Right
Ten and
on
a
the
half.
dot. I'm going to say 11, and I'm going to bet the 11. I like the Lions that much. I think
Yeah,
when you have a coach that had made so many boneheaded decisions that has cost his team wins in the offseason, I believe a conversation was had. I believe a conversation was
a
had.
lot of revenge games for them too. Like especially
Yeah.
that Cowboys game. I think a lot of that was a
Yeah.
crazy game. That was a
Yeah.
really crazy game. That
Yeah.
that Cowboys Lions game last year.
Cost them home field.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, why would you give a home field advantage in the NFL? If the Niners come to Detroit, Detroit goes to the Super Bowl. Guys, the difference between winning and losing the National Football League is so small, it's almost inconceivable.
yeah,
It's truly a game of inches, and it's a game of decisions. That's why coaching matters so much. You can get more out of average players with good coaching than you can get out of stars with bad coaching. And I think that he probably sat down with the owner, Dan Campbell, and was just like, look, we like the moxie, we like the bravado, we like your go for it attitude, but there's a time and a place for everything, man. And 4th and 6 with the odds stacked against you is not the smartest thing in the world. I believe if they kick one field goal in the second half of that NFC Championship game, one field goal, they go to the Super Bowl. And they have good special teams. They have good kickers. I don't understand it. And so, I know at the exit interviews for the coaches, they sit down and they all look at, where could we have been better? What did we do? I'm sure that these things came up in this game. If we would have done this in this game, if we would have done this, and we're not saying we're going to strip our identity and we're not going to be those Lions. We're not saying that. But maybe let's temper the expectations of always needing to go for it. That's the type of team we are. Amon-Ra St. Brown said it on receiver. Well, that's just who we are. You know what I mean? We know we're staying on the field. We know we're going for it. I don't necessarily agree with that line of thinking. I think that line of thinking in today's NFL is a recipe to let yourself get beat in games that you should win. And you saw it last year, and I'm banking on them revisiting how they do things in crucial situations and making those necessary adjustments that will turn into the wins that will hit that over this year, send them deep into playoffs. I think the Lions are getting home field advantage. I think the Lions and the Philadelphia Eagles are playing in the NFC Championship game in Detroit. I'm calling that right now. Everyone's like, "What about the Niners?" I do not see the Niners going back. You do not just keep getting chances. The Niners have had enough chances. I don't see Christian McCaffrey staying healthy. I just don't see it. Guys, the Niners are Brandon Ayuk's dissension. I mean, the Niners are getting old. The window of opportunity is shutting for them. They need a lot of things to go right too for them to get back. I think right now the Lions are here and the Niners are like right here, just above, but they're not far. They're not far, and I think the Lions are going to be better than the Niners this year. I know you guys think I'm crazy. Watch it happen. I'm telling you. Dan Campbell and that coaching staff with this team, all they really need to do is make the right decisions. And if me personally, I'm doing everything I can to turn Jamison Williams into a number two wide receiver. Parting shots.
This there's a lot of mystery, I guess, with this division. He just all of these teams are normally like in a division. There's a team that makes a push. Like even just maybe thinking back to like the Titans. Like the Titans are the team in that division that I feel made that like a big push. But this is a division where I feel like all the teams kind of did that. The Lions did that. The Bears obviously did that, and to the Packers to an extent also did that. These are all teams that are going to be hovering. Like if these teams were in like worse divisions, they'd be the best team in that division. I
Mm-hmm.
really think so.
Yeah.
Especially the Packers and Lions. And the Lions are probably already the best team in this division, but I think the Packers are 11 win seat, team in the right division. But because of the situation, we're like arguing if they can get to 10 wins. So that's how small the margins are for this. So these division games this year, there's going to be so many good ones. I'm just going to be so tuned in. There's so many times where they're like a bad division and you just like don't want to watch them. It's just like less and
Mm-hmm.
less in that now. Or at least there are certain divisions that you can pick out where you're like, man, every single time a team in this division plays, it is going to be season
It's
defining.
gonna be
It
good.
doesn't happen a lot. That doesn't happen too much.
Dude. This is just like the AFC North. Lions, Packers, Bears, Packers, Lions, Bears. These are all going to be great games. If Minnesota could just hold their own, man. I
I
mean,
know we're like
this,
down on Minnesota, but they could still they're
if
gonna
they could
not
just
they're
hold their own, you know what I mean? They could just hold their own. My parting shot is going to be I really believe that Jared Goff has an opportunity to be an NFL MVP. They play 80% of the games they play this year indoors. I
yeah,
want you
it's
to
like
go look
perfect.
at Jared Goff's home road splits and splits inside a dome and outside. He's a different quarterback. He's a completely different quarterback. When he plays inside, Jared Goff is unbelievable. And I'm putting all my chips in the middle of the table with the Lions. I really am. And I do believe that this is the year that you see Jamison Williams become what they thought he was going to be when they drafted him. He was always hurt or suspended. The guy's
Mm,
got incredible talent. Incredible. And now that guys like Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown aren't sneaking up on anybody anymore. They're going to be the focal points of your defense. It's time for JMO to shine. And I think the three of those players with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery is enough to make Jared Goff at least in the top three for vote getting. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to be back. But all these other quarterbacks have taken steps back. Josh Allen's their cupboard is left bare. I mean,
yeah,
you don't know what you're getting from Lamar anymore. I mean, yeah, he might have another MVP season, but he could easily not. Do you even know what Joe Burrow's going to give you? Is Joe Burrow even healthy? I think a dark horse in this year's race is Jared Goff, you guys. And I'm telling you right now, whatever you want to believe about Jared Goff, believe this. He's better than you think. He is better than you think. Yes, he's a statue, but the kid can throw, and he's very accurate. He puts the ball where it needs to be, and I'm a humongous Jared Goff supporter. Watch out for him this year, and let's revisit this at season's end. World of Matches bringing the heat every week. Who are we doing next week, Spencer? What division we have left?
NFC East.
NFC
Yes.
East. The NFC least is next week. We're almost
Yeah.
done. We're
We're
almost
almost done.
done. Yeah, we're almost done.
Season's
So
about to start pretty
I
soon
know,
here. It's
I know. It's pretty exciting. The
nuts.
NFC least is coming to you live and direct next week, and you guys have a great week. Summer's winding down. I hope you guys getting ready for fantasy football, getting ready to put your bets in. I'm telling you, that's a really good bet, though. The one for the Minnesota Vikings, guys. In all seriousness, like we're about making money here at the show, and if you're really like about putting a couple shekels down, I cannot see that team winning more than 7.5 games. Not with that schedule. I don't think they're going to be that good, and with the revolving door of quarterback, which we know is impending, and their defense is not going to be that great. Go under, get paid, steak and lobster. We'll see you guys next week.